Most mac and cheese in America isn't actually made with real cheese. Let that sit for a second. Not fake cheese, not bad cheese, not low quality cheese. We're talking about a reconstructed cheese system, an engineered combination of byproducts, emulsifiers, and stabilizers that is designed to behave like cheese without being cheese in any traditional sense of the word. That silky, creamy, unnervingly perfect sauce you've been eating since childhood, that's not a sign of quality. That is a sign of chemical engineering. The smoother it looks, the further it usually is from anything that came out of a cow in a meaningful way. Here's the financial reality check. Americans spend over $1 billion every single year on boxed mac and cheese. $1 billion. And the vast majority of that money is going to brands that have spent decades perfecting a product that costs as little as possible to produce, while charging you a price that assumes you think you're getting the real thing. Some brands have cut costs so aggressively that they've nearly eliminated meaningful cheese content altogether. The cheese is a marketing word at that point, a ghost ingredient, a rumor on the label. But here's where this gets interesting. Others are doing it the right way. Real ingredients, honest sourcing, transparent labels. And they're getting buried under millions of dollars in advertising from the big players who have every reason to keep you confused. And one brand in particular shocked me because it costs almost the same as the worst offenders on this list, but it is built completely differently. We will get to that. I spent weeks auditing every major mac and cheese brand on the shelf. I read ingredient lists, I contacted manufacturers, I cross-referenced FDA labeling laws and food science research, and the results were not what I expected. Let's get into it. To understand what these brands are doing wrong, you have to understand what real cheese actually is, because most people don't, and the industry is counting on that. Real cheese is milk, thyme, bacteria, and fat. That's it. The aging process breaks down proteins and develops complex flavor compounds. The fat structure creates that melt behavior. The whole thing takes weeks, sometimes years, and requires careful storage at every stage. Aging is flavor, and flavor is cost. Here is the math that drives everything in this industry. To produce 1 pound of real cheddar cheese, you need approximately 10 pounds of milk, 10 to 1. Milk isn't cheap. Time isn't cheap. Refrigerated warehouse space isn't cheap. So when you're a company trying to manufacture a product that hits a $1 price point, real aged cheddar is a problem you need to engineer your way around. So here is what they do instead. They replace aged cheese with whey, the liquid. Byproduct left over after cheese is actually made. Whey is cheap. It's abundant. And it still technically counts as dairy on the label. Then they add vegetable oils to replace the fat structure. They add modified starch to create thickness, and they add emulsifying salts, primarily sodium phosphate, to force the oil and water components to bind together and create that smooth, consistent, never separate sauce. What you're left with is not cheese. It is a system that behaves like cheese, a logistical magic trick, and here's the legal loophole that makes the whole thing possible. The label does not have to say real cheese. It can say cheese flavored. It can say cheese product. It can say made with real cheese, even if real cheese is the 5th or 6th ingredient by weight, buried under whey and starch and oil. The FDA's labeling standards give manufacturers enormous flexibility here, and the big brands have found every millimeter of that flexibility and used it. Read the fine print. The ingredient list tells a different story than the front of the box. The key insight, and hold on to this for later, is this. The smoother and more perfect the sauce looks, the more engineered it usually is. Real cheese melts unevenly. Real cheese has texture. Perfection in this category is a warning sign. So let's break down exactly which brands have taken this shortcut the furthest. The skip list, 5 brands to avoid. Brand number 1, Kraft Macaroni and Cheese. The front of the box says made with real cheese. Flip the bottle, flip the box, and read the actual ingredient list. What you find is cheese that has been so heavily diluted with whey, milk protein concentrate, and emulsifying salts that it barely resembles the ingredient it's supposedly made from. Whey is a byproduct. It's cheaper than cheese, but because it's derived from dairy, it still lets a brand put real cheese on the marketing without technically lying. The villain ingredients. Here are sodium phosphate, the emulsifier that creates that artificially smooth sauce, and historically yellow 5 and yellow 6 artificial dyes, used to create that bright orange color that has become synonymous with the product. The product was designed for 3 things: shelf life, consistency, and cost efficiency. Not cheese quality, not your health, not transparency. Verdict, not the worst thing on this list, but far from what the label implies. Brand number 2, Velveeta shells and cheese. Here's where the labeling situation gets genuinely remarkable. Velveeta is not legally classified as cheese. It is classified as, and I'm reading this directly, pasteurized prepared cheese product. That classification exists because the FDA determined it does not meet the standard of identity for real processed cheese. It doesn't have enough actual cheese content. The sauce you're getting contains canola oil, sodium alginate. It's a stabilizer derived from seaweed and milk. Protein isolate. This isn't cheese melting. This is an emulsion engineered to stay stable in a cup on a shelf at room temperature for months. The perfectly smooth liquid consistency that the brand markets as a feature is actually the clearest possible evidence of how far from real cheese you've traveled. Verdict, closer to a manufactured food product than anything a cheesemaker would recognize. Brand number 3, Cheetos Mac and Cheese. Let's be direct about what this product is. Cheetos is a snack brand. The flavor system in Cheetos products is built on artificial flavor compounds, MSG, and dye combinations, primarily yellow 5 and yellow 6, that are specifically engineered to trigger overconsumption. It's called hyperpalatable engineering in food science circles. And this product has taken that snack flavor system and put it in a pasta box. The villain ingredients include maltodextrin, a cheap carbohydrate filler, alongside those artificial dyes and flavor enhancers. There's no cheese story here. The bold cheesy flavor on the front of the box is a marketing phrase that describes artificial compounds, not dairy. This is snack dust repurposed as dinner, engineered for taste addiction, not quality, not nutrition, not honesty. Verdict, skip this one without a second thought. Brand number 4, Annie's Homegrown Mac and Cheese. This one is going to be controversial because Annie's has built an enormous amount of consumer trust on the back of its organic and clean ingredients positioning. And in some ways, it does do better than Kraft or Velveeta. But let's look at what's actually in the box. Annie's still relies on whey. It still uses processed cheese powder. And here's the detail that most people don't know. There have been documented concerns around phthalate contamination in cheese powder supply chains across multiple brands, including those using organic sourcing. Raised in studies published by independent food advocacy groups, organic certification means the ingredients were grown without synthetic pesticides. It does not mean they are unprocessed. It does not mean the cheese powder went through a different supply chain than the conventional brands. The ingredient list tells a different story than the branding. Organic does not mean unprocessed, and the premium price you're paying for Annie's is largely a premium for marketing positioning, not a fundamentally different product architecture. Verdict, better branding than substance. Brand number 5, Great Value Macaroni and Cheese, Walmart's store brand. If Kraft represents cost optimization, Great Value represents cost optimization taken to its absolute logical conclusion. The cheese content here is minimal. The ingredient list leans heavily on modified starch, artificial coloring, and the smallest possible quantity of dairy solids that still allows a cheese reference on the packaging. This is what happens when the entire value proposition of a product is cheapest possible price. Every ingredient decision is made in service of that number. Not nutrition, not flavor authenticity, not your health. The number on the shelf tag, you are paying for starch and color. That is what you are taking home. Verdict, the most honest thing about this product is its price. Before we get to the brand's worth your money, here is something you can do at home in under 60 seconds that will change how you shop for mac and cheese forever. Test 1, the melt test. Heat your cheese sauce alone in a pan without the pasta. Real cheese, even processed real cheese, will show slight separation. You'll see some oil, some uneven texture, some imperfection. A fully engineered emulsion system will stay perfectly, unnervingly smooth no matter what you do to it. Perfect is engineered. Imperfection is dairy. Test 2, the ingredient order test. The FDA requires ingredients to be listed in descending order by weight. Flip the box, look at the first 3 ingredients in the cheese powder. If you see cheese, milk, or butter in positions 1, 2, and 3, that's a real product. If you see whey, modified starch, or vegetable oil before anything resembling cheese, you found your answer. If cheese isn't first, it's not the main ingredient, whatever the front of the box says. Test 3, the powder texture test. Open the packet and rub a small amount of powder between your fingers. Real dehydrated cheese powder will feel slightly gritty. You'll feel the texture of actual dairy solids. Highly engineered powder will feel ultra fine, almost silky, because it's been processed to a degree that no longer resembles its original ingredient. Once you know these tests, you can't unsee them. Every box in the grocery aisle becomes readable in a way it wasn't before. The real list, 4 brands worth your money now. The brands that are actually doing this right. Brand number 1, Beecher's Handmade Cheese. Beecher's started as an actual cheese making operation with a transparent, visible kitchen in Seattle where you could watch cheese being made through a window. The mac and cheese they produce uses real aged cheddar. There are no artificial emulsifiers. There are no fake color additives. The ingredient list is short, recognizable, and reads like something a competent home cook would write. The result is a product that melts unevenly, has real depth of flavor, and does not behave like an engineered emulsion, because it isn't one. They treat mac and cheese like actual cooking, not manufacturing. The price is premium. But for the first time in this entire video, the premium is justified by what's actually in the box. Brand number 2, Goodall's. This is the brand that surprised me most. Goodall's builds on a real cheese base with no artificial dyes, and layers in higher protein content and additional nutrients without sacrificing the core product. The ingredient philosophy here is genuinely different from the conventional players. And critically, the price point is not dramatically higher than brands like Annie's that are charging you a premium for far less. This is the best balance of price and quality I found in this entire audit. If you want real cheese content, better sourcing, and a brand that's not using your grocery cart as a cost optimization exercise, Goodall's is where I'd start. Brand number 3, Banza Mac and Cheese. Banza's primary innovation is its chickpea-based pasta, but the cheese powder story is also meaningfully better than the conventional brands. Simpler formulation, better sourcing decisions, far less engineering in the sauce component. This is not a perfect product, but far less engineered is a genuine achievement in a category where the default is maximum engineering. If dietary diversity or protein content is a priority for your household, this one deserves a serious look. Brand number 4, Amy's Kitchen Mac and Cheese. Amy's operates on a family run, organic first philosophy that predates the organic food trend by decades. And crucially, and this is what separates Amy's from nearly every other brand in this category, they use a real cheese sauce, not a powder, not a reconstituted emulsion system, an actual sauce built from real ingredients. The additives list is minimal, the dairy is real. The philosophy behind the product is closer to what you would do at home if you were making mac and cheese from scratch, and the ingredient list reflects that, closer to homemade than shelf-stable science. Here's what this comes down to. This isn't about avoiding mac and cheese. Comfort food is real. Convenience is real. There's nothing wrong with wanting a quick, satisfying meal. This is about understanding what you're actually buying. Because most brands in this category are not selling you cheese. They are selling you a system. An optimized, cost-minimized, legally compliant system that is designed to remind you of cheese, while containing as little of the real thing as they can legally get away with. But here's what the industry doesn't want you to know. Once you understand the ingredient list, the power shifts entirely. You stop buying the front of the box, you start reading the back. You stop paying a premium for marketing language. You start paying for actual food. Your health and your money are not variables for corporations to optimize. They are yours, and an informed decision, even in the mac and cheese aisle, is an act of taking that back. We test the food because you deserve to know the truth. Subscribe to Taste It and Test It. New investigations every week.